You ever hear glass break in a quiet house at 3 a.m.? It's got this sharp, echoing sound, like a scream frozen in time. That's what it felt like when I first saw the messages. That exact sound in my chest. Let me back up a second. My name's Derek Monroe, 42, marketing exec, father to the most incredible kid on this planet. Sophie, my 17-year-old daughter, who's wiser than most adults I know. My wife's name is Madison. Yeah, that Madison. The one who always wore designer sunglasses indoors, ordered $18 lattes, and acted like she was allergic to humility. Beautiful? Sure. But also the kind of woman who could slice your soul with a smile. It all really started unraveling with that damn wedding. Her sister Kylie, who's basically a carbon copy of Madison but with slightly less Botox, was getting married to some Wall Street dude who wears shoes more expensive than my car tires. Madison came home one day with this smug grin and said, "So, Kylie's wedding is going to be exclusively upscale. Black tie only. And, well, Sophie and you, babe, might look a little out of place." Just like that. I didn't argue. I just nodded. We won't be attending. I should have argued. I should have asked why she suddenly saw her own daughter and husband as beneath her. But I didn't. I let it sit. I let it eat at me. And I made a mental note to never forget those words. Christmas came a month later. And oh, I played it cool. I didn't buy her a gift. I didn't argue about decorations. I didn't say a word when she bragged to her family that she saved face by coming alone to Kylie's wedding. But I did one small, quiet thing. I removed her name from the gift tags. Every gift under the tree said, "From Dad and Sophie." Not a single one said Mom. Not one. You should have seen the look on her face when her mother asked, "Oh, Madison, didn't you get anyone anything?" That moment was like a match landing on dry leaves. The whole damn family lost it. Screaming, accusations. How could you forget Christmas? All while I just sipped my scotch and said, "We all forget the ones we don't value." Madison slept at a hotel that night. Now here's where it all spins into madness. 1 week later, I noticed her iPad left open on the kitchen island. Madison's usually secretive, passwords on everything. But Sophie had been using it to look up recipes, and I guess Madison forgot to log back in. I wasn't snooping. I swear I wasn't. But a preview popped up. Last night was wild. Can't believe you wore that thing underneath. Still tasting you. Z. That same frozen glass breaking in my chest. I didn't react. Not right away. I clicked. Opened the thread. There were months of messages. Late night rendezvous, hotel names, raunchy emojis, photos. Photos. Of her. Wearing things I never saw in our bedroom. Saying things she never whispered to me. Even when we were young and stupid in love. The guy? Zach. Apparently a real estate mogul. More like a gym rat with a Gucci belt. He called her Maddie. Said she tasted like strawberries. I threw up in the sink. Then I stood there, gripping the edge of the counter like it was the only thing holding me up, while my mind played back every single time she came home late and claimed she was at spin class or just grabbing drinks with Kylie. She wasn't grabbing drinks. She was getting wrecked by a guy who wore cologne like a fog machine. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat in the garage, engine off, cold creeping into my bones, rereading every message until they blurred. And all I could think was, she didn't just cheat on me. She erased me. This wasn't just a fling. It was a whole second life. And I had no clue what the hell I was going to do next. The next morning felt like walking through a house that wasn't mine anymore. Every room looked the same, smelled the same, but something fundamental had shifted. Like the foundation cracked overnight and no one else noticed. Madison was in the kitchen in her silk robe, sipping her detox smoothie like she hadn't blown our entire marriage to bits. She looked up, gave me one of those fake little smiles, the kind you give to a cashier you're never going to see again. "Morning, babe," she said, like she hadn't been spread out in a hotel bed under some guy named Zach 3 nights ago. I just stared at her. She noticed something. My silence wasn't casual. "You okay?" I nodded slowly, then said, "I saw your iPad." Her smoothie paused halfway to her lips. Her eyes didn't even flinch, though. She was good, scary good. "My iPad." "Yeah, the one you left open with your tongue all over some guy named Zach." She blinked once, twice, then set the glass down gently like this was a civilized conversation. "I don't know what you think you saw. Cut the crap, Madison." And just like that, the mask cracked. Her shoulders dropped, and a flicker of something, guilt? Shame? No. It was irritation, crossed her face. So, you went through my stuff? She said, voice cold. That's your response. I nearly laughed. You cheated on me, and your first instinct is to blame me for finding out. She didn't answer immediately. Instead, she stood up, crossed her arms, and gave me that smug, poisonous look she always saved for retail clerks and waitresses. You're just mad because someone actually wanted me. That hit like a sucker punch. I gave you 18 years, I said. I built this life so you could play dress up with Kylie and pretend you belonged in a damn magazine. I backed you up. I never asked you to be anything more than yourself, but I guess that wasn't enough. She rolled her eyes. Don't start with the martyr act, Derek. You were boring. You never wanted to travel, never wanted to go out. All you cared about was work and Sophie. I felt a flicker of fire in my chest at the sound of my daughter's name coming from her mouth. Don't you dare drag Sophie into this. Oh, please, she snapped. She's just like you. Uptight. Judgy. You both walk around like you're better than everyone. You banned your own daughter from your sister's wedding because she wasn't elite enough? I shot back. You think we're the ones who walk around like we're better? She didn't answer. She just turned and walked away, muttering something under her breath. And in that moment, I realized she wasn't sorry. Not even close. She didn't regret cheating. She regretted getting caught. All that time, all those quiet dinners, all the little moments she used to smile through, they were all fake. A performance. I stood there alone in the kitchen, trying to stop my hands from shaking. Anger was bubbling up fast, but it was the sadness behind it that scared me more. Because once the rage passed, what would be left? A broken man. A betrayed father. A husband who couldn't recognize the woman sleeping next to him anymore. And I hadn't even told Sophie yet. That night, I sat on the edge of her bed and told her everything. I thought she'd cry. I thought she'd scream. But all she did was nod. I figured something was up, she said quietly. She's been different. Selfish. Cold. I'm sorry, I said, and I meant it in a way I never had before. It's not your fault, she whispered, hugging me like I was the one who needed protecting. And just like that, I knew I wasn't alone. No matter how bad this got, Sophie and I were still a team. The storm was just getting started. But for the first time in days, I felt something solid underneath me. The next few days were quiet in that eerie kind of way, like the air before a tornado. Madison stopped pretending. No more fake smiles. No more babe or casual touches. She didn't apologize. She didn't beg. She just acted like I'd become a tenant in her hotel suite. I'd come home, and she'd be scrolling through her phone or on some call with Kylie about dresses or interior design, like nothing ever happened. But I wasn't just sitting still. I dug deeper. Turns out Zach wasn't just some fling. He was married. With kids. His wife had a Facebook full of happy family photos, soccer games, school awards, anniversaries. And Madison? She had liked almost all of them. The audacity of that made my blood boil. I printed screenshots. All of it. Messages, photos, dates. Lined them up in a folder. I didn't know exactly why I did it. Maybe it was to ground myself. Proof I hadn't imagined the betrayal. Maybe it was to remind me that I wasn't crazy, that this wasn't a midlife crisis hallucination. It was real. Every damn word of it. One night, Madison came home, wearing heels too high and perfume too strong. She dropped her purse on the counter and saw me waiting at the dining table with the folder in front of me. She paused. What is this? Take a seat. She stared at the folder like it was radioactive. Then, slowly, she sat down and crossed her legs, calm as a corpse. So what now? Are we doing the whole dramatic expose thing? I opened the folder, fanned out the pages across the table. I didn't say a word. She flipped through them with this strange, almost amused expression. You really went all in with this little project. This little project, I said, barely containing myself, is 18 years of my life being pissed on by a woman who couldn't even fake remorse. She smirked. Actually smirked. Derek, you were never enough for me. And I just stopped pretending. There it was. The ugliest truth she'd ever said to my face. You don't even feel bad. Why would I? She said, leaning back. I finally got out of your sad, gray little world. I found someone who makes me feel alive. Alive. I snapped. You mean sweaty and used behind a hotel lobby bar? Her smile flickered for half a second, then came back stronger. You're jealous. It's pathetic. No, I said slowly. I'm not jealous. I'm disgusted. And I feel sorry for every man who ever thought he knew you. She stood up and grabbed her bag. You can keep your pity. I'm going to Zach's. At least he doesn't lecture me like some disappointed dad. I stood too. Don't come back. She stopped in the doorway. You don't get to tell me that. This house is in both our names. Not for long, I said. I called a lawyer this morning. That finally cracked her composure. Oh, you think you're just going to toss me out? No. I think you're going to walk out, like you always do, and one day you're going to wake up in his ugly little apartment with your fake eyelashes and your fake life, and you're going to realize you burned down the one place that ever actually loved you. She didn't respond, just turned and slammed the door behind her. I sat back down at the table, heart racing, breathing shallow, but underneath the shaking rage and hurt, I felt light. Not happy, not yet, but light, like I had taken the first real breath in months. It was over. The lie was over. But the wreckage was just beginning. The days after she left were a strange blend of silence and noise. The silence in the house was almost peaceful. No heels clicking on the tiles, no perfume choking the hallway, no passive-aggressive sighs when I forgot to rinse a plate. But inside my head, constant noise. Her words, those messages, the images burned into memory I couldn't unsee. I tried drowning it all with work, with chores, with anything, but some nights, I'd just sit in the living room staring at the spot where she used to sit, wondering how I ever missed the monster growing behind those lashes. Sophie was quiet too. She spent more time in her room, headphones in, sketching in that old notebook she thought I didn't know about. But I noticed the dark smudges under her eyes. She wasn't sleeping either. One morning, I knocked and stepped in. She didn't look up. Hey, I said softly. You good? She shrugged, still sketching. I sat on the edge of her bed and looked at her drawing. It was a rough pencil sketch of a woman in a long dress, half of her face serene, the other half crumbling into shards. I don't get how she could do it, Sophie said after a moment. I mean, she didn't just cheat on you. She lied to both of us, threw us out of her life like trash. I wanted to tell her something comforting, something wise, but I had nothing. So I just said the only truth I had. She lied because she didn't have the guts to tell us she was already gone. That night, I got an email from Madison. Short, blunt. We should talk. Zach's wife found out. Things got complicated. Complicated. The irony almost made me laugh. I didn't reply. I went to bed and slept harder than I had in weeks. But she showed up anyway. 3 days later. No call, no warning. Just knocked on the door with a desperate look and a face that hadn't been made up yet. It was strange seeing her like that. Real, raw, stripped of her armor. But I wasn't falling for it. I just want to talk, she said. I stood in the doorway. Talk. Fine. Here. She looked past me, saw Sophie on the couch, and frowned. Can we speak privately? No. Whatever you've got to say, you can say it here. Her jaw tightened, but she nodded. Zach's wife sent everything to his company. He lost his job. His kids hate him. He's spiraling. I waited. And she looked at me, eyes glossy. I don't know what to do. You don't know what to do. I repeated, stunned. You blew up your life, and now you're shocked the wreckage hit you in the face? Don't act like you're above this, she snapped. You weren't exactly husband of the year, Derek. I laughed bitterly. No, I was the guy who stayed, who worked, who raised our daughter while you pretended to be some damn celebrity in a suburban mansion. Her voice cracked. I just wanted to feel seen. I wanted someone to want me. You were wanted, I said, stepping closer. You were loved. But that wasn't enough for you. You didn't want real. You wanted a fantasy. She looked at Sophie again, like seeing her for the first time in months. I miss her, she whispered. I miss both of you. You didn't miss us at the wedding, Sophie said from the couch, cold and steady. You missed the photo op. Madison flinched. I think it hit harder than anything I said. I want to fix this, she tried. You can't, I said. Some things don't get glued back together. Sometimes when you break something, it stays broken. She didn't cry. Madison never cried. She turned, walked out, and this time she didn't slam the door. She just closed it like a chapter ending. That night, I tucked Sophie in like she was 5 again. She didn't fight it, just curled into my side and said, I'm glad she's gone. Me too. But I also knew the next step was mine to take. I had to figure out what kind of life we were going to build from here, and who I'd have to become to make sure we never ended up in that kind of hell again. The house felt different after that final door click. Not empty. No, not that. Just still. As if the walls themselves were tired from all the yelling, the tension, the silence that followed the chaos like an aftershock. I stood in the hallway for a few long minutes after Madison left, just breathing, just listening to the calm. That night, I found myself staring at the ceiling, unable to sleep. My mind ran in circles. Not about her. She was done. I knew that now. But about the version of me that allowed all of this to fester. The man who didn't ask more questions. The man who believed the spin classes, the wine nights, that you're being paranoid. I used to pride myself on being rational, level-headed, patient. Maybe too patient. Maybe I let the rot spread because I didn't want to be the guy who tears the house apart looking for mold. But now, I wanted to tear everything down. Next morning, I started with the bedroom. I opened every drawer, every shelf, every closet. Gone. Her clothes, her shoes, her stupid pillow sprays and monogrammed silk pillowcases. She must have come back during the day while I was at work and taken her things. She even took the jewelry box I bought her for our 10th anniversary. Left behind the box of letters I'd written her. Untouched. I sat down on the edge of the bed and picked up the envelope on top. The first letter I'd ever written her. Back when I still believed love could fix anything. Back when we whispered dreams instead of keeping secrets. I didn't cry. I couldn't. I just folded it back, slid it inside, and shoved the whole box into the trash. Later that week, Sophie came into the kitchen holding a letter from Madison. She looked at me, deadpan. Do I have to read this? Only if you want to, I said. She opened it. Read. Frowned. She wants to stay in my life and hopes I understand grown-up relationships are complicated. Sophie set it down like it was covered in grease. She actually wrote that. Like I'm too dumb to know she chose her boy toy over me. She doesn't get to rewrite what happened. I told her. I don't want her letters. I don't want her explanations. I just want her gone. Sophie said, her voice shaking. I don't want her coming to my graduation pretending to care. You can say that, I said, and I'll back you all the way. And I meant it. A few days later, Kylie called me. That was a shock. We hadn't spoken since Madison barred Sophie and me from the wedding. I let it ring twice before I picked up. Derek, hey, can we talk? My voice was flat. About what? She's staying at my place. I just found out everything. I didn't know. I didn't know it was this bad. She told me you overreacted, that you'd been cold for years. I laughed out loud. Of course she did. There was a pause. She lied, Kylie said quietly. I know that now. And I'm sorry. For everything. For how I treated Sophie. That wasn't fair. I got caught up in Madison's version of things. I didn't know what to say. That apology felt overdue, and too little, too late. But maybe part of me respected her for at least owning it. I hope you two are okay, she added. I really do. We will be, I said. And I meant that too. The next weekend, I took Sophie upstate for a cabin trip. Just the two of us. No Wi-Fi, no mirrors, no Madison. We sat by a lake one morning, quiet, the kind of quiet that feels right. I don't hate her, Sophie said suddenly. I don't think I ever will. But I don't forgive her either. And I don't want her near me. I nodded. You don't have to feel anything for her if you don't want to. She stared out over the water. I just want to be better than her. And that's when I realized. We already were. It had been a few months since the storm passed. Not a clean storm. There were still pieces of debris floating in the air. Some days the memories hit me like a brick out of nowhere. The perfume she used to wear when she was sneaking around. The ringtone that made me sick to my stomach. Or the silence in the evenings that used to mean peace, but now just echoed with what we lost. But little by little, life reassembled itself. I sold the house. It was a hard call. Not financially, emotionally. Every corner of that place had ghosts. The hallway where Sophie took her first steps. The kitchen where Madison faked her laughs. The bedroom where I slept next to a stranger. I couldn't keep living inside a shell of a marriage. We moved into a smaller place. Cozier. Cleaner. No Madison anywhere in it. Sophie helped pick out the paint. We argued over furniture, made pancakes and socks on bare floors. It was a different kind of home. A real one. Madison kept reaching out. Emails at first. Then texts. Then calls from new numbers. She wanted to talk. To get closure. To have an adult conversation. I blocked every one of them. And then she showed up at Sophie's school. That was the last straw. Sophie called me from the parking lot, her voice cold. She's here. She tried to hug me. I drove faster than I should have. Found her waiting by the administration office, sunglasses on, like she thought this was a movie. I didn't yell. I didn't make a scene. I just told her the truth. If you show up here again, I'll file a restraining order. And I will win. I've got every text, every call, every proof of what you did. You don't scare me anymore, Madison. You disgust me. But you don't scare me. She didn't respond. Just stood there frozen like someone had finally turned the lights on and she saw what she'd become. She didn't come back after that. The silence she left behind was real this time. And I liked it. Sophie got into a summer art program. I remember sitting in the audience while she accepted her little certificate, her cheeks flushed from clapping and camera flashes. That moment felt more significant than anything Madison and I ever faked together. It wasn't just pride, it was clarity. I was raising someone strong, someone unbreakable. A few weeks later, I got an invitation in the mail. Madison's handwriting. It was for her healing ceremony. A yoga retreat/apology tour she was throwing in her backyard. I stared at it for a long time, wondering what level of delusion you had to reach to think an incense-burning circle could undo what she did. I didn't go. Instead, I spent that night playing cards with Sophie, grilling steaks in the backyard of our new place, laughing about something dumb she said about her art teacher. That was healing. Not crystals and fake tears and whatever Instagram version of remorse Madison was peddling. I didn't need her apology. I had the truth. That she never loved me the way I deserved. That she lied. That she chose the cheap thrill over the real thing. But also that I made it out. I didn't drown in it. I didn't become bitter or broken. I didn't let her win. And if anyone asked me now what I learned, I'd say this. Love someone who chooses you in the quiet, who doesn't need an audience to treat you like gold. And if they stop choosing you, leave. Don't wait for the lie to rot. Don't excuse what's inexcusable just because you shared a bed or a last name. And never, ever let someone convince you that loyalty makes you weak. Because walking away from someone who doesn't respect you, that's the strongest thing you'll ever do. The final thread came undone one quiet Saturday morning. I was sorting through some boxes in the garage, things I hadn't touched since the move. You know the kind, old tax papers, birthday cards, cables for electronics I didn't own anymore. And at the bottom of one box, there it was, our wedding album. I froze. Not out of grief. Just curiosity. I flipped it open. There she was. Madison, smiling so big it almost looked real. Me, beside her, full of hope and absolutely blind. We looked like a couple from a Hallmark ad. But I remembered the fight we had the night before those pictures. How she wanted to change the flower arrangement last minute and snapped at the planner like she was garbage. I remember thinking, this is stress. This is just wedding nerves. But now I see it. The cracks weren't from stress. They were from character. I closed the album and slid it into a trash bag without a second thought. Later that day, Sophie and I went out for tacos. It's become a tradition for us, Saturday tacos, hot sauce challenges, people watching, and talking about everything and nothing. That day, she looked across the table at me and said, "You're different now." I paused mid-bite. Different how? Lighter. You used to walk around like something heavy was on your chest all the time. You don't anymore. She was right. That weight had a name, and it had finally been dropped. That night, I sat outside, drink in hand, stars overhead, the sounds of summer buzzing. No lies in the air. No walking on eggshells. Just quiet. The real kind. Madison. Last I heard, she moved in with some guy in Scottsdale. Not Zach. Someone new. Someone shiny. Probably someone who doesn't know yet how her smiles come with fine print. It's not my concern anymore. She could fall in love, fall apart, or fall off the map. None of it touches me. I'm not bitter. I don't carry that. I carry the lessons instead. People will lie to your face with the same mouth they once said I love you with. That's the ugly truth. But it doesn't mean love isn't real. It just means some people aren't worthy of it. And the next time, if there is a next time, I won't confuse passion with loyalty. I won't ignore the red flags just because they're wrapped in lace and lipstick. I won't shrink myself for someone else's spotlight. I survived a betrayal that tried to erase me. But here I am, still standing, stronger, sharper, and with a daughter who saw the worst and chose to rise above it. That's my real victory. So here's my advice to anyone out there who smells smoke but keeps saying, it's probably just the candles. It's not. Get out before you burn with it. Because your peace is worth more than any history. And now I finally have mine.